Hello, readers. Welcome to reading class with me, Miss Taylor. We are getting started on King Arthur. So, yesterday we had a class meeting and we read the introduction to the Tales of King Arthur. So, now we know a little bit of background information about the King Arthur stories and the Knights of the Round Table. And we're going to use that background knowledge, that schema, to help us make sense of these stories of adventure and bravery and courage. And let's get started. So, for reading today, you're going to need your King Arthur book, and you will also need your King Arthur packet. So, that looks like this. All right, so we have our Tales of King Arthur student activity packet, and we are going to work on packet or part 1, chapters 1 through 3. All righty, so and actually we are going to be looking today at page 4. So it might be a good idea for you to have this open to page 4. In fact, I think we can go ahead and answer this first question together because we know that the King Arthur stories take place. Let's see, what is the setting of chapter 1? Time and place. So, when and where do the King Arthur stories take place? Yeah, they take place during the Middle Ages, or kind of also known as the sort of the Dark Ages. Yeah. So the Dark Ages. And what place in the world do these happen? Yeah, they take place in Britain, in England. And in our stories, the King Arthur stories, I'm going to put in parentheses, they call it Logres, the Kingdom of Logres. Yeah. So we are reading about the Knights of the Round Table. King Arthur takes place in Britain or Logres. And this is from kind of what we read yesterday, the introduction. It says, let's see. So he's a legendary king of Britain who has appeared in stories and folk tales ever since medieval times. He is supposed to have lived in the Dark Ages, which is a name for the time after the Romans left Britain, between 400 and 700. So it's kind of part of the Middle Ages. It's kind of like at the very, very beginning of the Middle Ages, so kind of the Dark Ages. So, in other words, we don't know too much about what happened during this time, but we know that there might have been a king who was similar to King Arthur. So, this is the setting of the story. It's during the Dark Ages. If you wanted to write between 400 and 700 AD. So, quite a while ago. Right now we're in the year 2021. So, you can subtract these numbers to find out how long ago that was. Ooh, like 1300 years ago? Or, well, that would be this. Or even longer. Like, let's see, what would that be? 1600 years ago? That's a long time. Okay, in Britain. So we are going to go ahead and I'm going to flip to the chapter 1, The Sword in the Stone. All right. Please follow along with me. I'm on page 9. Please, can I come with you? Begged Arthur. Please. He was watching his father and brother as they saddled their horses. They were about to go to a tournament, and Arthur was determined not to be left out. It had to be worth just one more try. I promise I won't get in the way, and I'll sharpen your weapons and shine up your armor and look after the horses, he said, trying a direct appeal to his father. Sir Ector, who was busy loading the saddlebags, did not look up. You can't go, said Kay dismissively. You're not even a knight. Kay, or rather Sir Kay, as Arthur now had to call him. Can you imagine having to call your big brother a sir? Oh, I would not like that. Kay, or rather Sir Kay, as Arthur now had to call him, had just been knighted, and he took great delight in reminding his brother of this fact. Now, after years of training, he was at last allowed to take part in a real tournament. His sword was razor sharp, his brand new armor had been polished to perfection, and he could hardly wait to show off his jousting skills. The last thing he wanted was his little brother tagging along behind him. It's like I'm going to this tournament, and I did not want little brother tagging along. All right, which leads us to our next question in our packet is right here. How does Kay feel about Arthur coming along to the tournament? How does he feel? Says, you can't go. You can't go. You're not even a knight. Ugh. Yeah, to me, Kay seems annoyed. Kind of annoyed at his little brother. What else could we say? So Kay feels annoyed, maybe kind of unhappy. Maybe a little bit mad, like, would you just get out of here? It's a big brother. He doesn't want his little brother coming along. All right. But you'll need a squire, said Arthur. Please let me be your squire. Remember, that's like an assistant to a knight. Sir Ector glanced down at Arthur's earnest, expectant face. There were good reasons why he didn't want him to go. He wished he could explain. But then, what harm could it really do? Well, Arthur, I suppose you might be useful. But father, protested Kay. Ector ignored him. And you'll be a knight yourself soon, so this will be a chance for you to learn how to behave. But one hint of trouble. What's he going to say? And I'll send you back home. You won't even know I'm there, grinned Arthur. He was already packing his bags. Kay shot him a filthy look and was still muttering under his breath when they set off. Little brother has to come to the tournament. The tournament had been arranged for New Year's Day, and people were coming from far and wide to take part or watch. Knights and their squires, dukes and earls, ladies on horseback, barons with their servants, whole families of peasants, wandering minstrels, shepherds, beggars, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, and hordes of other curious onlookers thronged the muddy road. Ooh, that was one of our vocabulary words. If they thronged the road, they poured into the road. Let's see. What do we have for? Let's look at our packets here. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's surging. Taylor was thinking of surging. Kind of the same thing. Pouring, rushing, streaming. So thronged is very similar to that. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Let's see. All heading for the town where the tournament was to take place. Ector soon realized that they'd have little chance of finding a place to stay unless one of them went ahead. I'll go, said Arthur. I'll try the Blue Boar Inn first, and if there's no room there, I'll leave a message to say where I've gone. All right, said Ector. We'll meet you there. Ride safely. Arthur charged off at full gallop. As soon as he was out of earshot, Ector turned to Kay conspiratorially. That means kind of secretly. Like, hey, I think you should know that this isn't just any old tournament, he said. What do you mean? Asked Kay. Well, the story I've heard is that the Archbishop has arranged it for a particular purpose. And what's that? To find the new king, said Ector. Kay looked confused. Well, you know that since King Uther died, it must be over 13 years ago now, the kingdom's been in complete chaos. There was no known successor to the throne, so all the knights and barons have been squabbling among themselves. And to make matters worse, King Uther's old enemies have invaded parts of the kingdom. Ector paused and pulled his cloak around him. The afternoon air was growing colder as the weak winter sun began to set. Well, apparently, continued Ector, an old sorcerer came out of his hiding place in Wales just before Christmas. An old sorcerer. Who do you think that might be? And told the Archbishop to summon all the nobles to a big service in the cathedral. He said there would be a miracle which would reveal the true heir to the throne. Well, the Archbishop adores miracles, so he did what the old sorcerer said. On Christmas morning, the nobles all packed into the cathedral. In fact, I've heard there wasn't enough room for everybody inside, so some of them spilled out into the square. The service started, and the archbishop was about to give one of his long, boring sermons when all of a sudden there was some shouting outside. What's going on? Everybody immediately piled out into the square to see what all the noise was about. Hector stopped for a moment to read a milestone at the side of the road. They still had some way to go. "And what was the noise about?" asked Kay impatiently. "I'm just coming to that," said Hector. He spurred his horse on and then coughed to clear his throat. When they got outside, they saw a strange block of stone. Nobody knew where it had come from. It had just appeared as if from nowhere. Sticking out of the stone was the handle of a very large sword. They all crowded around for a closer look and saw carved into the stone the message: "Whoever pulls this sword out of this stone is the true-born king of Logres." Whoever is able to pull it out is the true king of Logres. That means Britain. Well, of course, all the knights started jostling to take turns to pull the sword out. One after another, they leaped up onto the block, heaving and straining, puffing and panting and moaning and groaning until they were red in the face. Can you imagine? Can paint a picture in your mind and visualize all these knights? They're so tired and red in the face. But not even the strongest knight could budge the sword an inch. It was as if the metal and the stone had been fused together. Well, finally, the archbishop decided that the true-born king was not there. And that was when he had the idea for this tournament as a way of bringing all the nobles in the land together to have a try at jousting and to take turns with the sword. That way he'd be sure to find the king. So he quickly chose some messengers to ride around the kingdom to tell people about the sword and the stone, and picked out 10 knights to guard it. "So will I get a chance to pull the sword out?" asked Kay. "Well, yes, if we can get anywhere near it with all this excitement," said Hector. All right, so second graders, it is getting exciting now. I wonder what's going to happen at the tournament. So your job for today is to continue reading. I'm going to have you keep reading the rest of page 13, and I think we're going to read all the way until, let's see, I think I might have you read all the way until page 20. Yeah, right where there's this little design here. So I'm going to have you keep reading. So we left off on page 13. We're going to find out what happens when Kay is at the tournament, or when he gets to the tournament. And then we're going to pause here on page 20. So you're going to read those pages, and then we're going to work on a few questions. And I'm going to help you. I'll take some pictures of this to help you get started. But this on the bottom of page 4 is called a who, wanted, but, so, then chart. And this is going to help us to summarize, to kind of tell what happened in the chapter. So this part is about who, Kay, and he wanted to participate in the tournament. But something happened. You'll find out what happened. So then this thing happened. You'll find out. And then this is kind of the solution of what happened. Okay, so you're going to fill out that, and I'm going to take some pictures of my work to give you a little bit of help. And then when we get to this page, we are going to talk a little bit about something called a simile. And a simile is a comparison that uses the words like or as. Similes are used to make reading more vivid and interesting. Similes allow readers to visualize or paint a picture in their minds. Here is a simile from page 15. Okay, and actually, I'm not going to read this yet because I don't want to give away what happens. But you're going to try to finish this after you're reading. And again, I'll give you a little bit of help here. And then we're going to go through number 7. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to read all the way up until page 20. And then we're going to stop here. Stop here at this little design on page 20. And then you're going to do some of the questions in your study packet. And that is our reading assignment for today. And then you get to read on your own for 20 more minutes, of course. All right, second graders, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you again soon.